वेलकम टू माय यूट्यूब चैनल द सोलफुल डायरी। आज के वीडियो में हम बात करेंगे रॉबर्ट फ्रॉस्ट के पोम प्रॉस्पाइस के बारे में। पोएट के बारे में हम पहले ही एक वीडियो में डिस्कस कर चुके हैं। आज हम पोम के बारे में डिस्कस करते हैं। इन डेप्थ डिस्कस करने से पहले जान लेते हैं उसके कुछ की फीचर्स। द स्पीकर टॉक्स ऑफ फेसिंग डेथ bravely and being reunited with a soulmate. It is a dramatic monologue. The title comes from Latin and means to look forward. In the poem, the speaker talks of looking forward and facing death. He will not fear death but approach it with his head held high. That is but his last fight before he meets his soulmate again and falls into her embrace. Together, they will rest with God. The poem was written in 1861, shortly after his wife's death. The poem was first published in 1864. We can say that the speaker is the poet himself from the information. Main focus of the poet is to talk of facing death without fear because a soulmate awaits him on the other side. In the poem, Browning utilizes a dramatic monologue to approach the subject of death. He uses dark imagery throughout the poem to paint a picture of death. This imagery forms the backdrop to which the speaker stands up and fights. Therefore, he will not crawl to death but face it with courage and determination, because a reward awaits him beyond the dark room doors. The light, his soulmate Prospice juxtaposes this dark imagery with the light at the end to offer an optimistic view of death. In this poem, the speaker talks of facing death head on, so he will not cower in the face of death. When death comes, he wants to experience it in full. There will be no creeping past with bowed head. Looking forward, he will approach death with optimism because his wife awaits him after his final battle. Picture a man with his head held high, shoulder back, chest out, standing before the grim reaper and readying to tussle. It is a 28-line poem. Every four lines have a rhyme scheme of ABAB. Lines 1 to 4. Fear death. To feel the fog in my throat, the mist in my face, when the snow begin and blast a note, I am nearing the place. The poem opens with a rhetorical question. Fear death? This immediately tells us that the poem will be about death. As previously mentioned, Browning uses a beautiful imagery to signify the approach of death. The fog and mist and snows speak of winter, which gives connotation of death. This is continued in line 5 to 8. Lines 5 to 8. The power of the night, the press of the storm, the post of the foe. Where he stands, the arc fear is a visible form, yet the strong man must go. In the line 5 to 8, the reference to the night and the storm further signifies death. Let us take a closer look at the last three lines of the snippet. The post of the foe, where he stands, the arc fear in a visible form, yet the strong man must go. Here we see death labeled the foe, which sets up a face to face interaction between the speaker and his enemy. In the last line, death is the arc fear, and this works to show that the speaker is not fearless when facing death. However, as line 8 tells us, he must go and face it. Lines 9 to 12. For the journey is done and the summit attained, and the barriers fall through. Though a battles to fight ere the guerdon begin, the reward of it all. In lines 9 to 12, the speaker likens life to climbing a mountain. At the summit, death awaits, the reward for the hard toil of life. These lines is almost a pessimistic note to these lines. I lament that death is the reward for all that struggle. However, the pessimism is short lived, as we shall see in line 13 to 16. Lines 13 to 16. I was ever a fighter, so one fight more, the best and the last. I would hate that death bandaged my eyes and forebore and bade me creep past. Lines 13 to 16, one could say the speaker comes out swinging. I was ever a fighter, so one fight more here. The speaker tells us that he will not go quietly, he is a fighter who is ready to meet the challenge of death. Furthermore, he wants to experience death as seen in the last two lines of the snippet. I would hate that death bandaged my eyes and forebore and bade me creep past. We see that the speaker wants to look upon death and face it head on. He does not want to creep past, to go out without a whimper. So there is an optimism here that he can tend with the suffering of death. Line 17 to 20. No, let me taste the whole of it. Fair, let my peers, the heroes of old, bear the brunt in a minute. Pay glad lives, years of pain, darkness, and cold. In lines 17 to 20, the first line bolstered that outlook. The speaker wants to taste the whole of it. He wants to be lucid when his time comes. Therefore, he's optimistic he can handle what death brings. In line 18, we see a reference to heroes of old. This shows courage that the speaker will face death with his head held high, confronted, there will be no hiding away. Let us look closer at lines 19 and 20. Bear the brunt in a minute, pay glad lives, are years of pain, darkness, and cold. Here we get another glimpse of the speaker's courage. He is willing to pay for the good times in his life, even by experiencing pain and suffering, with lines 21 to 24 giving us a clue as to why. Lines 21 to 24. For sudden, the worst turns the best to the brave. The black minutes attend, and the elements rage. The fiend voices that rave. So shall dwindle, shall blend. In lines 21 to 24, the speaker tells us that his bravery will be rewarded. Moving to the second line, we are at death's door, where the black minutes at end, line 23 and 24 signify the fight with death. Here, the element rage and the fiend voices that rave will fade away. 25 to 28. Shall change, shall become the first piece out of pain, then a light, then thy breast. O thou soul of my soul, I shall clasp thee again, and with God be the rest. Lines 25 to 28, we have the final fight, the tussle with death. The arch fear is inevitably victorious. However, there comes a piece out of pain. Moreover, a light then thy breast, and the speaker acknowledges the soul of my soul, taking into account that Browning wrote this shortly after his wife's death. Must presume that he addresses her directly here. He shall be reunited with her, and both will rest with God together. This is his reward for his bravery in the face of death. The optimism in the second half of the poem converges here in the ultimate optimism. Light shines through the darkness at the end. Music devices consonants. The first two lines use consonants to create a harmonious effect. Personification. Death is personified as the arc fear in line 7. Imagery. The poem uses imagery to compare death to a journey up a mountain. Themes. The main theme of Robert Browning's poem Prospice is facing death with bravery and a belief that it is a journey that must be taken. Death is not to be feared. The poem conveys the message that death is not something to be feared, but rather to embrace because it makes it easier to accept and one is reunited with loved ones in the afterlife. Death is God's will. The poem expresses the idea that death is God's will and there is nothing to be afraid of. The power of the soul. The poem conveys Browning's belief in the power of the soul to transcend death and triumph over adversity. The poem's title, Prospice, is a Latin word that means to look forward. The poem is written as a dramatic monologue and was published in 1864. थैंक यू। आई होप आज की वीडियो आपको अच्छी लगी। कैसी लगी हमें कमेंट करके बताएं, और आप आने वाली वीडियोस किस टॉपिक पे देखना चाहते हैं वो भी हमें कमेंट करके बताएं। और अगर वीडियो अच्छी लगी तो लाइक शेयर एंड सब्सक्राइब टू माई चैनल। मिलते हैं कल एक और इन्फॉर्मेटिव वीडियो के साथ शाम 4 बजे।